the concept of staying up all night in order to try to prepare for finals or something like that. We're going to be airing just after finals week, I believe, and some of you may be feeling some of the side effects and after effects possibly on your grade for procrastinating and trying to pull those all-nighters. So our producer, Sean Connelly, has given us a wealth of information about the effects of staying up all night. And Liberty, you want to take off right on that? I mean,
Sure.
Have you ever pulled an all-nighter personally?
Yes, actually I have. Unfortunately, have pulled all-nighters before. I think distinctively I remember it was for an economics class, and that class was definitely one of those ones where you know, it was some tough material, which meant that it had an even tougher final, and so you need to make sure that you're prepared. And I think I remember staying at a coffee shop, working until, you know, they kicked me out of there essentially, and then moving to a Tim Hortons that was open 24 hours to just have another, you know, couple cups of coffee to get myself through the evening. And to tell you the truth, you know, it was about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm still working on trying to process all this information that we had covered during this semester to get ready. And it was about 6 o'clock in the morning for an 8 a.m. final, and I'm just ready to crash. So it definitely posed its own problem, because you can try to fuel yourself on caffeine and food, but the real thing that you need to do is have your brain kind of stop and get some rest and process the information you're trying to cram in there so that you can, you know, actually do well on the exam itself.
Yeah, and I'm looking at my notes here. The quote from Dr. I'm going to assume it's Brian Abelach. It says brain on the notes, but I'm going to assume that's Brian.
Maybe it is brain.
Is that people who sleep 6 hours or less a night might not feel impaired, but people don't realize the impairment in their own performance. They are harming themselves more than they realize by not getting a good amount of sleep. And that's backed up by a lot of research that talks about the state that your mind is in when you study should be the state that your mind is in when you take your exam. So if you're hopped up on caffeine when you're studying because you're trying to study all night and then you go tired to the exam, you're really impairing the way that your body operates on a test-taking basis. Now, I do want to say though that I've had to stay up all night doing projects before. Where you weren't tested on it the next day, and
that's a little bit different.
That's where you can kind of...
Yeah. I think it's different if you're up working on a big project and you might even be just pulling your weight of this project type of thing, or pulling it all together. I always seem to fall under that category. Pull everybody's stuff together to have it be finalized. But, you know, if you're working on a project, you can probably, you know, let your brain shut down a little bit for the next day, and it's not necessarily such an issue to actually perform. But, you know, part of your brain that's in charge of that planning and decision making is that first part of your brain that starts to actually, you know, shut down immediately when you start having sleep deprivation. And it's just, it's definitely not a pro to the situation.
Yeah, it's not something you want to get in the habit of. We do have a list of long-term side effects, include high blood pressure, heart attack, heart failure, stroke, and ADD. Those seem to be pretty extreme and terminal. I think the more prevalent side effects would be being ornery, feeling bad.
And you know, one thing I've also...
I always want to throw up when I don't have enough sleep.
You get that feeling in your stomach where you're just like, oh, yeah.
Puke mouth. You get a little bit of puke mouth.
Well, and you know, something else that as I was reading through some of the facts that I thought that was very interesting is that your social skills begin to take a toll. You can't read other people's emotions as well, meaning like if you were with friends or, you know, a significant other or something along those lines, that you're more stoic because you're just not essentially with it, I guess. And, you know, not even as long-term as high blood pressure and things like that, but you know, as short-term as the fact that your friends are going to start to think, what the heck is wrong with this person? Are they, you know, not, you know, eating properly? Are they having some type of, you know, mental issue, when really it could just be caused by your sleep deprivation?
Yeah, and that's another thing that the article that we were provided with pointed out, is that you try to replace some of that energy that your body is not recharging by sleep with food.
Yeah.
And it's not a good way to try to recharge your batteries. You shouldn't just try to stimulate yourself into staying up without food, but but it's not. You're trying to sleep is for memory and cognition and recall, and food is for biological function, and those two things don't necessarily come together.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, the one of the biggest side effects basically is you become fat because you make
Yes.
bad decisions because you're tired and you go for the chips instead of the apple or the carrots or whatever, and yeah, basically your decision making drops. Some of the chemicals in your brain are altered because they're not being replenished obviously through sleep. So the chemical that makes you stop eating is reduced, and the chemical that makes you want to eat is enhanced.
Yep.
So
The chemical that makes you want to eat is enhanced.
Yes.
I need some of that chemical anyways. I'm rocking at about 159 pounds right now. I look like a chemo patient, basically.
Well, I'm at the
all the
other
time.
end of the spectrum. My hormone that makes me want to eat. No, not hormone, the chemical, which is called leptin.
Okay.
Yeah, seriously. Are we
Are you going anywhere with that or no?